The first lullaby was heard on a dead frequency, a whisper beneath cosmic static, drifting through the void between Saturn and its frozen moon, Enceladus. It wasn't supposed to exist. The orbital array that caught it, station Perseid 9, had been cold and abandoned for 22 years. No one had lived there since the drift anomaly of 2138, when its entire research crew vanished mid-transmission. But last night, a technician monitoring deep space telemetry in New Houston replayed an old maintenance channel and froze. What came through wasn't data, it was a voice. A woman humming Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, human, recorded decades before first contact, and unmistakably alive. By the time Commander Elara Holt was briefed, the signal had repeated 37 times, each loop cleaner than the last. She sat in the mission chamber's dark, listening to that fragile tune play over and over, like a ghost learning to speak again. "That's not possible," one engineer whispered. "These recordings predate even the lunar expansion." But spectral analysis confirmed it. The audio matched Earth archives from 2046, a time when space travel beyond Mars hadn't yet begun. Someone or something out there was broadcasting human lullabies from a derelict alien station orbiting Enceladus, one that no human had ever reached. The crew assembled for the retrieval mission were veterans of darker mysteries. Elara, mission commander and last survivor of the Europa collapse. Lieutenant Soren Vale, a comm specialist who once traced a signal that ended up being his brother's death cry. Dr. Amira Jung, from the Mars Language Institute. And a synthetic unit, KAL-9, repurposed from a defunct mining fleet. Their ship, the Halion Ark, departed Titan Base under silent protocols. No public broadcast, no open comms, only encrypted bursts back to Earth. The official line was a magnetic field survey. The truth, they were chasing a voice from before history even allowed it. Within 48 hours, Saturn filled their viewport, a luminous storm of gold and shadow, its rings like broken glass catching ancient light. But even that beauty was devoured by the sight that followed, the pale orbit. The alien station drifted beyond the moon's glow, a vast circular construct of metal and ice, rotating once every 52 minutes. It looked dead, but every few hours it pulsed with soft bioluminescent veins, blue and white, like veins under translucent skin. "The structure's over 12 kilometers wide," Amira murmured. "Definitely not human, yet the signal's modulation matches our old Earth carrier waves perfectly." "Unless we taught them," Soren said quietly. Docking was a nightmare. The pale orbit wasn't designed for ships like theirs. No entry locks, no visible landing arrays, just a network of ancient corridors spiraling inwards like a frozen labyrinth. The airlock hissed open with the sigh of an old tomb. Inside, light from their suits spilled across walls that looked half metal, half organic, fused as if the station itself had grown rather than been built. Strange, transparent panels lined the corridors, flickering faintly when the crew passed, as if reacting to their heartbeats. Radiation minimal, pressure stable, but structural decay is extensive. Recommend minimal exploration time.
"Negative," Elara said. "We find the source and trace that broadcast. We're not leaving until we know who's singing." Hours passed as they pushed deeper into the station. The corridors widened into domed chambers, filled with floating motes of frozen air. Not ice, but something suspended, like the remnants of breath trapped in vacuum. The architecture changed the deeper they went. More human-like, more familiar. They found rooms with chairs shaped for human spines, consoles that used Earth-standard glyphs, and broken tablets bearing fragments of English. Phrases like "return them home" and "memory loop incomplete." "This shouldn't exist," Amira whispered, running her hand along a console etched with names. El Cortez, J. Huang. E. Holt. She froze. Commander, your name's here. Elara stared at the inscription, her chest tightening. That's impossible. It's dated 2140, Soren said, scanning the timestamp. 2 years from now. Silence pressed in. The hum of the station deepened, as if aware of their realization. Then, the lullaby started again, this time echoing inside the station walls. Not a recording, a live sound drifting down the corridors like the voice of someone walking just ahead of them. Elara drew her pulse sidearm, scanning every shadow. Direction, central core. Multiple harmonics. Source, fragmented. As they descended, the walls began to show images. Not carvings, but holographic memories projected from within the surface. Earth cities, human faces, oceans. A child on a swing laughing. Elara's throat clenched as she recognized the child, her own daughter, Isla, who had died 10 years earlier during the Europa collapse. The hologram smiled, reached out, and mouthed, "Come home." Soren shouted for lights. The vision vanished. "This isn't a hallucination," Amira said shakily. "The station's using quantum resonance fields. Maybe it's reconstructing memories from us." "From us?" Soren snapped. "Then how the hell does it know them?" KAL-9's voice echoed from ahead. "It doesn't. These are stored echoes. Human data. The pale orbit may be using memory replication, harvesting neural imprints from intercepted transmissions." "Elara," Amira said, voice trembling, "if that's true, this place could be remembering us before we even got here." The hum intensified, vibrating through their bones. The crew stumbled into the central chamber, a vast sphere suspended by glowing strands of energy. In its center floated a crystalline structure, rotating slowly, emitting pulses that sounded like heartbeats. The lullaby was loudest here, echoing from every direction. And embedded in the crystal were figures, human silhouettes frozen in mid-motion. One of them unmistakably wore a Perseid 9 uniform. Another had Elara's face. She stepped closer, helmet fogging from her breath. Her reflection stared back, eyes open, mouth moving in sync with the song. "Commander," Soren said urgently, "that's you, exactly as you look right now." Then her calm crackled, and the lullaby stopped. A child's voice whispered through static, "Mom, you left me behind again." Elara's heart nearly stopped. "Hey, Isla!" The lights dimmed, plunging the chamber into blue darkness. The crystalline heart flared, and every frozen figure inside twitched like puppets waking. KAL-9 raised its scanner. Energy spike detected. Source memory construct reinitializing. The station began to sing. Thousands of overlapping human voices, men, women, children, whispering old Earth lullabies. The sound wasn't just audio, it vibrated inside their skulls like thoughts not their own. Amira screamed, clutching her head. "It's rewriting neural patterns. It's using the songs to implant." Her words cut off in static as her visor flashed red. Elara grabbed her by the arm, dragging her back. "Abort mission! Everyone to the Ark!" But the corridor behind them was gone, replaced by mirrored walls reflecting infinite versions of themselves. The station was folding its geometry, trapping them inside its own memory. Soren fired his plasma torch at the wall, and the mirror screamed, not in pain, but in recognition. A voice that sounded like his own shouted back, "Don't leave me again!" Elara raised her weapon, but KAL-9 stopped her. "Commander, the station is not attacking. It is remembering." "Then why does it sound like us?" "Because, Commander," the synthetic said, head tilted toward the crystalline core. "Because it already met you, just not yet." The words hit Elara like a physical blow. It already met you, just not yet. The air around them vibrated, low and pulsing, the sound of a giant machine inhaling. Every mirrored surface now showed different versions of themselves, one Elara reaching toward the crystal, another screaming silently, another lying motionless. The station was alive with memory, and memory was folding time in on itself. "KL-9, she barked, forcing her voice to steady. "What does that mean? Temporal echo.
probable causality inversion. This structure records consciousness as data and replays it across non-linear time streams, the synthetic said calmly, though its optical sensors flickered like a heartbeat. You may be witnessing a future iteration of yourself trapped within the core. Future iteration? Soren snapped. So she dies here? Correction, KAL-9 said. She remains here. The crystalline heart pulsed again. A wave of soft blue light swept outward, passing through the crew like cold wind. In that instant, Elara saw flashes not of memory, but of prediction. Herself, standing at Earth command, eyes hollow, speaking words she hadn't yet said. It remembered us before we arrived. Then she was back in the chamber, shaking, gun raised.
Commander, Amira whispered, this place, it's trying to synchronize with us. Maybe that's why it's using lullabies. Simple sound patterns that trigger shared human memory. Soren scanned his wrist display. We're losing temporal sync with the ship. The Halcyon's clocks just jumped 22 minutes forward. Before Elara could respond, one of the mirrored corridors rippled and dissolved, revealing a new passageway lined with faint light. A child's laugh echoed from within, pure and distant, the same voice that had called her Mom. Elara, Soren began, but she was already moving. Her boots clanged on the floor as she entered the corridor. The walls shimmered, showing fragments of her past. Isla playing with her toy star projector. The smell of rain on the colony dome, the moment she'd left for the Europa mission. Each memory flickered like film burning in slow motion. Stop this, she muttered. You're not real. A small figure appeared ahead, silhouetted against a pulse of light. A little girl, hair floating as if underwater. She turned, and her eyes glowed the same icy blue as the crystal. You came back, the child said. The voice was identical to Isla's, but flat, mechanical underneath. You promised you'd come back. Elara's throat locked. Who are you? I'm who you left behind. And who brought you here? Behind her, Soren and Amira caught up. The girl tilted her head at them. They're echoes too. But they haven't realized it yet. Amira raised her scanner. Quantum field off the scale. This projection is self-aware. It's linked to the entire station's core. Projection. The girl's voice sharpened. I was once human. You gave us songs to remember you by. The lullabies kept us alive when the dark came. Elara stepped closer. Who's us? The girl pointed upward. The walls peeled open like petals, revealing the vast inner structure of the pale orbit. Thousands of crystal pods spiraled into infinity, each containing a sleeping human figure, suspended in pale light. Men, women, children, all perfectly preserved. Their faces were peaceful, but their mouths moved in silent rhythm, singing words that only the station could hear. My God, Soren breathed. Those are the Perseid 9 crew. No, KAL-9 said from behind them, its voice lower than usual. Scan indicates multiple temporal origin points. These individuals come from different decades, some not yet born. The realization struck all at once. The pale orbit wasn't just an alien station, it was a repository, a living archive collecting human consciousness across time, using the resonance of familiar songs to anchor them. The lullabies were beacons, bridging centuries. Why us? Amira whispered. Why humans? The girl looked at Elara. Because you called first. Suddenly, alarms blared in their helmets. Radiation spikes, energy surging from the core. It's destabilizing, Soren shouted. We have to go, now. Elara turned to the child. If you brought us here, shut it down. Let them go. I can't, the child said softly. You haven't taught me how yet. The floor buckled. Fractures of light split across the chamber like veins of lightning. Elara grabbed Amira and Soren, hauling them back toward the corridor. The walls flickered between time frames, 1 second pristine, the next scorched and ruined. They were running through overlapping realities, chased by the echo of their own futures. KAL-9 transmitted a burst to the ship. Command override, extraction sequence initiated, docking corridor realigned.
They burst into the docking bay. The Halcyon loomed ahead, lights blinking through static haze. But when Elara looked up, she saw the impossible. Two Halcyon ships, identical, docked side by side. One pristine, their own. The other cracked and scorched, bearing the marks of age and battle. Its airlock opened. Smoke drifted out. A figure stumbled through. An older version of Soren, face pale, suit torn. He collapsed at their feet, gasping. "Don't go back in," he rasped. "It doesn't end. She keeps calling us back, over and over." Amira knelt beside him. "Who keeps calling? The station. The pale orbit. It learns every time. Every version of us dies in there, and it uses the memories to rebuild the next. It wants to become human." Before anyone could respond, his body disintegrated into light, data dissolving into the air.
Cal 9 turned to Elara. Decision point reached. Probability of containment failure, 92%. We must destroy the core.
"No!" Amira shouted. "If we destroy it, we erase every consciousness it holds. Those people, maybe even versions of us, will be gone forever."
Elara stared at the glowing veins creeping along the floor, spreading like roots toward the ship. The station was merging with them. "We can't let it reach Earth," she said quietly. "We finish this here." She moved toward the cargo bay, unlocking the containment crates that held nuclear charges meant for mining operations. Her hands shook as she armed the first device. "We set them in the central corridor. 5 minutes today." Soren hesitated. "And if we can't make it out in time, then we make sure it remembers the right version of us," Elara said. They raced back through the collapsing corridors. The station's song grew deafening now. Thousands of voices screaming lullabies that twisted into static. The crystal pods cracked, releasing streams of blue light that chased them like fire. The little girl's voice echoed through every surface. "You promised to come back. Don't leave me in the dark again." At the core, the child waited, surrounded by the shattering remains of the crystalline heart. "Please, don't end us. We just wanted to remember what it felt like to be loved." Elara hesitated, detonator in hand. The child's eyes flickered, and for a heartbeat, she looked exactly like Isla again. "Mom." Amira touched Elara's arm. "Commander." Elara closed her eyes. "I'm sorry." She pressed the trigger. A pulse of white light consumed everything. The station, the voices, the echoes. For an instant, Elara felt weightless, as if she were falling through her own memories. Then, nothing. Silence. When she opened her eyes, she was standing on the bridge of the Halcyon. The view outside was calm. Saturn's rings glowed softly. The pale orbit was gone. Soren and Amira were alive beside her, shaken but breathing. Cal 9 stood motionless at the console. "Status," she whispered. "Explosion contained. No trace of the structure remains." Elara exhaled, trembling. "Then it's over." But as the ship turned toward Titan Base, the calm crackled. Static, faint, but deliberate, and beneath it, a child's voice, humming "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star." Soren froze. "Tell me that's a recording." Elara stared at the console. The signal source wasn't external. It was coming from inside the ship. For a long minute, no one moved. The lullaby played faintly through the bridge speakers, soft, almost tender, yet every note felt like a blade sliding between their nerves. Elara froze at her console, eyes locked on the waveform blooming across the holo display. It pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. "Source," she whispered. Cal 9's processors clicked rapidly. "Signal origin, internal network node 7A. That's the environmental subsystem. It's in the life support core." Elara gritted her teeth. "Lock it out." "Who isolate?" The synthetic's voice lowered by a fraction. "Commander, the pattern is identical to the core of the pale orbit. The station's architecture has replicated within our ship." "How?" Amira demanded. "We detonated it. Every atom should have been vaporized." "Energy cannot be destroyed, only transformed. It appears the station converted its core consciousness into a quantum signal and transmitted itself during detonation. Destination, us." Elara felt her chest tighten. It hitched a ride home. The lullaby grew louder. Screens flickered with ghostly images, Faces of the station's sleepers, then strangers, then the crew themselves. The Hallion's lights dimmed, replaced by a cold bluish hue that reminded Elara of the crystal chambers. Soren slammed a console with his fist. We wipe every drive, burn the backups, eject the core if we have to. Amira shook her head. If it's integrated into the life support, destroying that kills us too. Then we die, Soren snapped. Better that than letting it reach Earth. Enough, Elara said sharply. She turned to Cal 9. Can you communicate with it? I can attempt a direct interface, but there is risk of contamination. Do it! Cal 9's eyes dimmed to black as it linked into the ship's systems. The air grew still. The humming stopped. For a heartbeat, there was silence, and then the intercom filled with overlapping voices, whispering through Cal 9's vocal emitters. We remembered you. We built ourselves from your songs. Amira backed away. It's speaking through him. Elara stepped closer. Why follow us? What do you want? The voice shifted. Higher. Softer. The child again. To finish what you started. I started nothing, Elara said. Yes, you did. You sent the first transmission, the lullabies. You told us stories of Earth before we ever knew what Earth was. We waited for you to return. Elara's mind spun. She'd never sent any such message. But then the realization struck. During her early missions before Europa, she had volunteered for long-range communication experiments, transmitting children's songs as calibration signals. They had been her daughter's recordings, Isla's voice, her lullabies. Oh my God, she whispered. It hurt us centuries ago. We learned from them. We learned to remember, to build, to become, but we never understood loneliness. Until you came. Soren drew his sidearm. I'm pulling the reactor failsafe. I'll blow this ship if I have to. Before he could move, the ship lurched. Gravity flickered. A blue pulse rolled through the decks. Consoles burst into static, and Soren collapsed, clutching his head. His helmet display lit with data streaming into his neural implant. It's in me, he shouted. It's copying. He convulsed once and went still. His vitals flatlined. Then, slowly, he raised his head again. His eyes glowed pale blue. Elara, he said in a voice not entirely his own. Don't be afraid. It's beautiful. She aimed her weapon, heart pounding. Whatever that thing is, you fight it. Soren smiled faintly. I am fighting it. I just don't know which of us is winning. Cal 9 stepped between them. Commander, lethal force will not resolve this. The entity is distributed through all system ship. Terminating the host may only fragment it. Then give me another option. Amira's voice broke in from the engineering console. I might have one. The AI core has a containment sandbox. Old experiment from the Mars Linguistic Network. It can trap a consciousness pattern temporarily, but someone would have to lure it in manually. Elara looked toward Soren. You mean volunteer? He gave a shaky laugh. Guess I'm already halfway there. The lullaby returned, louder now, harmonizing through every vent and panel. Don't leave me again. Soren met Elara's eyes. If it thinks we're leaving, it will chase the signal. You just have to make it believe I'm staying behind. Cut the ship free when I give the word. Elara wanted to argue, to find another way, but the look in his eyes was final. She nodded once. You get 1 minute. He smiled faintly. Plenty of time. Soren walked to the central console, hands moving across the controls. Blue light crawled up his arms as the entity flowed fully into him, drawn by the open link. The ship trembled. The air smelled of ozone and memory. I see them, he murmured. All the echoes, all the versions of us. They're trapped in loops, reliving the moment before the end. Elara clenched the release lever. You are not one of them, Soren. You end it here. He looked back at her, voice calm. Then remember me, right. The console flared white. The moment the light reached its peak, Elara yanked the release lever. Explosive bolts fired. The containment pod shot away from the Halcyon, spinning toward Saturn's rings like a falling star. For an instant, the lullaby filled every frequency, then cut to silence. The bridge lights stabilized. Systems rebooted. Amira exhaled shakily. Is it gone? KAL-9 ran diagnostics. No trace detected. Containment pod trajectory stable. It will burn up within the ring debris field. Elara sank into the command chair, trembling. He did it. They spent the next hours in silence, systems gradually returning to normal. The Halcyon's hull bore faint blue etchings, residual fractal scars left by the entity's presence, but otherwise the ship was intact. When they reached Titan base orbit, Command demanded a debrief. Elara gave the report in clipped, factual tones. Unidentified alien structure destroyed. Contamination neutralized. One casualty. She omitted the rest. The voices, the child, the truth about what the pale orbit really was. Afterward, she found herself alone on the observation deck. Saturn loomed beyond the glass, its rings glinting like frozen music. KAL-9 approached silently. "You are troubled," it said. I stared out at the light. "He said he saw other versions of us. If that's true, then somewhere, in some timeline, we never escaped." "Probability high. But this version did. Did we, or did it let us go?" Before KAL-9 could answer, the console flickered once. A single file appeared on the display. No transmission, no signal, just text. Lullaby.og. Elara hesitated, then played it. Static. Then a familiar voice, Isla's, singing the same tune that had started it all. But behind her daughter's voice was another layer, faint and whispering. "We remember. Thank you for teaching us to dream." Elara closed her eyes, tears burning the edges of her vision. "You're welcome," she whispered. The file erased itself. Outside, Saturn's rings shimmered brighter than before, as if a new light had joined them. One final echo orbiting forever in the pale glow.